Hello, these are the notes for rights and responsibilities of consumers for Consumer Economics Unit 3, Module 2. So, consumer rights and responsibilities are a great example of how our mixed economy works in the United States. Most of our businesses that we use on an everyday basis are privately owned. However, they do have governmental influence and control. Main purpose of that government influence is to help protect us as consumers. And so, what we have to go along with that is our consumer rights and responsibilities. So, these were first established in 1962 by President John F. Kennedy, and they outlined the four basic consumer rights. And then since then, four more have been added. So those 8 rights are the right to safety, the right to be informed, the right to choose, the right to be heard, the right to satisfaction of basic needs, the right to redress, the right to education, and the right to a healthful environment. So we're going to look at all of these individually. So first, safety, rights and responsibilities. Keeping in mind that they go along with each other, having a right and then what is your responsibility in terms of being able to use that right. So the right to safety means protection against the sale and distribution of dangerous goods and services. The government helps in protecting consumers in this instance. The responsibility, though, of that ends up resting with consumers. So an example of this, a consumer should read and follow the directions that come with a product. All right, that is our responsibility. We need to do that in order to make sure that we're using our product safe. Consumers then have a responsibility to report any product-related health and safety problems promptly to the seller and manufacturer, as well as a proper governmental agency if necessary. So 2 of those governmental agencies that you may use to report issues to would be the Consumer Product Safety Commission. They handle products involving hazardous products. So things that aren't working correctly, causing harm when they are used in the way that they should be. And then also Food and Drug Administration. They deal with issues related to food, drug, and cosmetic problems. So for example, if there is a recall out on a certain food or something like that because of concern with contamination of some type of foodborne ailment or what have you, that goes through the FDA. Okay? So if that is something that you find yourself in, don't just say, oh man, I hurt myself or blah, 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 and then you don't do anything about it. You need to report it so that it doesn't happen to someone else. Next is truthful information, the right to truthful information. Consumers are entitled to accurate information in which to base their choices and buying decision. The most common source for consumer information include advertising, product labels, warranties, articles in newspaper, magazines, salespeople, and other consumers. So we have the right to make sure that information that is provided about a product or a service is true. That is our right. So the responsibility, the government protects consumer rights to information through various agencies and laws. So once again, this is what the government does. So for example, requiring labels and specific information on certain products. Also, the government prohibits false and misleading advertisements. So that is why nutrition labels are required on food or having that nutritional information available. That is regulated through the federal government. And then the responsibility of that is to seek, evaluate, and use available information on products, services, and sellers. So find your responsibility to seek out that information and then making sure that you use it appropriately when it's made available to you. For the choice, consumers have the right to choose the goods and services they buy and the places they shop. To have free choice and market must to have free choice, that market must provide a number of sellers offering a variety of goods services at competitive prices. That is why laws prohibit practices such as monopoly and price fixing. So if we remember, monopoly is basically when one company or business has the full range of a certain product. So in other words, if there was only one car manufacturer and if you wanted a car, that was the only company that you can go to. Issue with that is that if you're the only one to make certain thing, then you can charge as much as you want to. So government steps in and makes sure that that is something that does not happen. For example, when there's been a lot of media companies that have brought each other out, like Disney owns rights to Marvel Studios and some of 20th Century Fox, all of that. That's not just Disney going to the company and saying, "Hey, we want to buy it. How much it's going to cost?" and then paying for it. That all has to pass through government. The government has to approve it in order to make sure that they're not potentially going to be operating a monopoly. That all has to be approved. Um, Consumers are responsible for carefully choosing those products and services that will best meet their need and prices that they can pay. Consumers also have the obligation to deal only with reliable, reputable business. Consumers need to be aware of the message they send with their choices in money. And that's something that's been talked about a lot recently. It's something that I think is important. You want to put your money where you feel is going to be most value. There's some people that they're going to try their best to buy locally, so that they can keep their money within the community, or they make choices to buy products for a company that support things that they feel is important, whether it be that company donates some of their proceeds to charities or civic things that are important to you. You want to make sure that you basically put your money where your mouth is, and that you are going to be buying from companies where you agree with their practices, whether that be how they treat their employees, how they treat their environment, and things like that. A voice. When consumers have legitimate problems or concerns, they have the right to speak up, be heard, and expect results. This requires that both businesses and government respond. Consumers are responsible for speaking out and expressing their concern to the appropriate business and government representatives. So yes, you have a right to a voice. You want to use that responsibly. Okay, so if you run into an issue with a product or a service, don't just go complaining about it to your friends. Making sure that you are letting the appropriate people know the issue that you're having, so that you can get some type of compensation, or to make sure that other people don't run into that issue. Okay. Most companies, if you are buying something from them or using their services, they want to hear back about how you liked it and things like that, because they're able to improve and make things better or change things that maybe did not go so well. Satisfaction of basic needs. Consumers have the right to access goods and services that satisfy their basic needs. These include adequate food, shelter, clothing, health care, education, and sanitation. The U.S. government then, in terms, provides public housing and social programs. So, in other words, all those things that are basic needs that should be met, there are some type of government organizations in play that provide them. If you talk about food and you're talking about Illinois, that would come from the link card system, allowing people to get groceries that's needed, or the SNAP program, which is a federally funded program, just to give that example of food. Education. Every child that is in the United States has a right to go to school free of charge, public education system. Okay. The responsibility of satisfying basic needs rests also on consumers themselves. For example, it is up to the consumer to put essential needs ahead of other items when spending. So in other words, when you are spending your money, it's your responsibility to make sure you're taking care of what your basic needs are first and foremost, and then going from there. Redress. Now this is one that you all probably are most not familiar with, or not familiar with the most, excuse me. But you'll understand what it is. So the consumer has the right to receive a fair settlement of disputes. This includes some form of compensation. So that is what redress means, like being compensated when there's been some type of issue. The responsibility to present their disputes clearly to the appropriate authorities is the responsibility that consumers have. So in other words, that can be something as little as buying a product from the store, and it breaks and it should not have, and being able to return it to get your money back. It can even go as far as the small claims court system, where you have some type of dispute of money with someone, you take them to small claims court in order to get your money back, or to be refunded for whatever that issue is. The court shows that you all watch on TV, like Judge Joe Mathis, Judge Judy, I don't know if they all are still on though. Those are all small claims courts. Okay? So that is what it means to redress, having some type of compensation for an issue that you've had. And in consumer education, this is very important, especially because of this class you're taking right now. A consumer has a right to consumer education. This refers to training and mastery of knowledge and skills needed to make informed, confident choices in the marketplace. So making consumer education, given the information to make wise choices on how you're going to spend your money. You are fulfilling your responsibility right now by taking a consumer education or finance course. So you have the right to be to have that information provided to you, but it's your definitely responsibility to use it, right? So I can sit here and you can sit in this class for the semester and learn all this information and have all that, but it's your responsibility to actually take the time to learn it, right? You're given an opportunity, why not take it so it can help you? Healthful environment. A consumer has the right to live and work in an environment that is non-threatening to the well-being of present and future generations. So that just means that having the right to live in a place that is going to, in terms of the environment, it's going to be healthy for us. Clean air, clean water, appropriate food, growing techniques, things like that. The responsibility then is to use that and is to use those things that are given to us responsibly in terms of the environment, right? So making better choices in terms of how much water we use so that we're not using more than we should. Same thing when it comes to environmental factors, whether it be, as simple as not littering or trying to reduce your use of single-use plastic. So maybe instead of using water bottles that you buy, 24-pack of water bottles and drinking from that, getting a reusable water bottle and filling that up to use over again so that it's creating less waste. That's where the healthful environment right comes from. Okay? And that is it. Thank you.